My name is Duggan. I've been a professional chef now for about 26 years. I started off in small restaurants and private places and have worked my way on up through hotels, private restaurants, chain restaurants, a little bit of everything. I was born and raised in the Pacific Northwest and growing up in smaller towns outside of Portland, Oregon. My mom was a great home cook and my grandmother was a great home baker. And so I just kind of grew up spoiled a little bit in that aspect that everything was made from scratch. We had clam chowder where I went as a young boy and was taught how to dig clams off the beach. I'd bring them home and Mom would cook them on up and make clam chowder from scratch. I mean, all that and then just fresh baked, pastries and things like that from my grandmother. My grandmother grew her own strawberries, made her own strawberry jam, and then made up a fresh jelly roll. We just had a wealth of ingredients to pull from. As I got a little bit older though, I ended up taking off and I went to go live with my father the last couple of years of high school. So when I went to live with him, I come to discover my stepmother was not as good of a cook as my mom or my grandmother. So I was like, okay, so after about a couple years of that, I was getting pretty hungry for good food again. I called up my mom and was like, Mom, please help me. How do I make your lasagna? I was like, I love lasagna, it's my favorite dish. So she starts telling me directions over the phone. She didn't tell me much on the procedure-wise. So I was kind of left to my own devices with a few little rough directions from Mom. So I went down to the local grocery store, took my allowance and went down and bought the ingredients I needed. And while my dad was at work and I thought I'd surprise him and make this, here I am trying to pull it together with Mom's directions. It turned out pretty good. It wasn't the prettiest or the best, but the main thing was it was good scratch-made food. And when I got it made, Dad came home. He was thoroughly surprised that I'd gone off and done this. And he loved it, said it was fantastic. And I thought he was just being polite, as you assume, because even as a teenager, I knew that Dad's probably just shining me on a little bit, just being extra nice. I got up late that night, though, to go get a drink of water, and I caught my dad standing there in his pajamas, eating lasagna out of the fridge at around midnight. And the next day when I get up, the lasagna's gone. There's nothing left. There's a note that says, hey, this food is fantastic, I loved it. And he's like, thank you so much for doing this. And he's like, here's some money. He goes, if you want to make anything else, please make anything you want to make. That just lit a fire that I didn't know I had. So at that point, I was like, what do I got to do? How can I go cook? I literally went to my guidance counselor at the high school and was like, what can I do? Is there anything I can do food related? Do you have any classes like that? Because home ec is boring to me. I took that in my freshman year in high school and I thought it was a waste of time. I was like, I already know how to make chocolate chip cookies, guys. Who doesn't know how to make that? So at that point, my guidance counselor says we actually have a program in the high school in Washington State in this farm town. Said it's called Community Resource Training. And basically what it was is you could get on-the-job training during a class period and they'll let you go do this. So if you wanted to get like a little trade type training. And so I was able to go to a local restaurant right across the street from my house and I'd go there for my last period of my day of high school and I would go in there and learn how to slice and dice a little bit and make like sausage gravy, just very basic stuff. It was it was like a diner. That was it. The fire was lit and I was off of cooking. What makes a good lasagna is the good quality ingredients. I mean, you can't start off with cheap tomato sauce and expect that you're gonna get a good tasting lasagna. Cheap ingredients equals cheap tasting lasagna. They always used to say, use the leftover cheap wine to make sauce with because it's not good to drink. Well, that's actually a misnomer. You really shouldn't do that because cheap wine makes cheap wine sauce. So good quality ingredients, making it from scratch. Don't buy pre-chopped up garlic. Go get a whole garlic bulb, peel it yourself, chop it yourself, and go get fresh herbs. Don't use dried herbs, you know, and it doesn't always have to be pre-made like you're making lasagna noodles from scratch. You don't have to do that. You can get dried lasagna noodles. It'll work just fine. And you can get pre-made tomato sauce if you need to do that to save you some time. Just spend the extra money and get the better quality stuff if you're gonna do that. And then it'll still be fantastic. What I love about cooking the most is really when you just take the right ingredients and you take the right procedure and you put them together, they can go from good to amazing. That's what gets me excited, is when somebody's like, I just don't know, I can't understand how you made it so fantastic. And to me, that just really, every day that kind of lights my fire and makes me want to get up and go out and just do it again and again, no matter how long the hours are, no matter how hard it is or how stressful it is. It's extremely rewarding.
Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed this episode of My First Dish. Please hit that like button and subscribe to our YouTube channel so you don't miss any videos from My First Dish.